What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Fall of X, and we're picking up with Captain America joining the X-Men with the Avengers Unity Squad. For those of you guys who don't know what that means, quick little bit of an introduction here. In the aftermath of Avengers versus X-Men, when the two groups fought each other, in order to bridge the gap between the two, the Unity Squad was formed as a team that's composed of both Avengers and X-Men. This is a different roster, but a similar roster at the same time. So this one picks up with what's called an Orchis Filtration Center. And this is the cool thing because Orchis is learning, right? Like we mentioned in the Dark X-Men video, in years past in Marvel Comics, whenever humanity was looking to enslave the mutant population, they would slap these metal inhibitor collars around their necks that would shut their powers down. What Orchis is doing is they're actually giving them injections directly into their bloodstream. Now we can largely assume these are like some kind of nanites that suppress their powers, but it's a pretty interesting concept because seemingly what that would mean is that with the exception of a full-blown blood transfusion or simply killing them and bringing them back through resurrection, assuming that's even possible, these mutants who are depowered are never going to get their powers back. Now, we're kind of guessing here, but that seems to be the case. Now, the cool thing about this is that while they're all being told to move, there's a woman with a cloak who just stops. And this guy literally tells her, right? This Orchis agent tells her, you have to keep going. She pulls out a sword and she helps him finish with all his living. Blood goes everywhere. Only for us to find out it's Psylocke. Now, here's the thing to know, right? If you guys are not familiar with the X-Men, Psylocke is dope. Psylocke is what I like to refer to as a murder machine because this girl is next level dangerous. She's like one of the deadliest women on the face of the planet. Her ninja training combined with her psychic abilities, given the whole history of Psylocke, which we're not going to get into here, it makes her one of the deadliest people of all time. Now, we end up finding out it's not just her. She's actually joined by Monet St. Croix. Now, here's the thing about Monet. She's got a ridiculously complex history that is the definition of overly complicated comics in the 1990s and Generation X. All you really need to know here is this girl has a whole host of powers. Telepathy, invulnerability, super strength, super speed. She's not really listed as an Omega level mutant, but let's just be honest with ourselves. If for no other reason than just the sheer number of powers that she has, she might as well be. But between these two girls, they can take all comers. They can annihilate virtually anybody out there, right? They're that deadly. Now, one of the other things that makes Psylocke so deadly is the fact that she was personally trained by the Hand. For those of you guys who don't know what that means, the Hand is the deadliest ninja organization in the world in Marvel Comics. That's a group that can get into a room, kill you, and leave, and the only way in and out is a door that's locked that was never unlocked. It's crazy what these guys are capable of, right? They come at you with overwhelming force. But in the middle of all of this, Psylocke is suddenly met by Steve Rogers when she goes to slash and the sword won't cut his shield because it's Captain America's shield. Nothing cuts the shield. And so initially, she actually goes to fight him for a second because she believes that he's a protector of the forces of Orchis. And she even goes so far as to ask, like, let's make this a fair fight. Where are the rest of the Avengers? And she's not jesting here, right? Psylocke's not just talking trash. Sure, the Avengers would take her down, but they would take her down like eventually, right? Like she would get her licks in and she'd take out more than a few of them before they finally took her down for the count. So like that girl's wildly capable. Now, of course, Deadpool joins in the midst of all of this because what's an Avengers Unity Squad without Deadpool on the team? But the thing is, Captain America literally tells her, like, I wanted to talk to you about that, right? I want to talk to you about the Avengers. I'm reinstating the Avengers Unity Squad. Now, with both Monet St. Croix and Psylocke having telepathy, they read the mind of Captain America as much as they can because one of the things to know is that whenever you're talking about like higher ranking members of the Avengers, usually they have some kind of mental conditioning that keeps telepaths from being able to just wholesale read their minds. So Captain America does have a level of telepathic immunity, but they are able to detect his thoughts enough to know that he's telling the truth. And one of the things that Psylocke says is, look, I don't mind being a part of your little Boy Scout team, but understand, I'm not going to listen to lectures from you about how like we shouldn't kill and that kind of stuff. They're wholesale slaughtering and annihilating the entirety of the mutant population. So if you're okay with me helping people finish with all their living, right, unaliving these different members powers of Orcus, then sure, I'll join your team. If not, I'm out. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. Captain America would be a fool to let Psylocke go, right? She's just that capable. She's a piece you want on your chessboard. And that's why he says, then avenge them, right? He doesn't shoot her down. He doesn't say, no, we don't kill, no. He's like, no, we'll kill him if we have to, because that's just the way that it is. It's one of the best things about Captain America. You don't often see Steve Rogers saying, yeah, let's just kill everybody, kill them all. You don't usually see that all that often in Marvel Comics. But when you do see that, that's when you know things are popping off. Secret Empire was a great example of when that happened, right? Captain America conquers the Marvel Universe. It was nuts. But what ends up happening, of course, Deadpool tells him, like, we basically have all the explosives that are set. Quicksilver appears because he's part of the team, and they effectively bail out of there and then blow the place to pieces. Now, Quicksilver was able to get those who had not been injected with the nanites as far away as possible, right? Literally whisking them away using his super speed. But the other part of this is Rogue, because that's the question that a lot of you all have had ever since we covered Avengers 25 and the start of Fall of X. When Rogue showed up, whisked Xavier away, and then he told her, you have to get out of here, try to find survivors, try to do whatever you can to overcome the power of Orcus. A lot of you guys have been wondering, where's she been at? This is it. She joined the Unity Squad, and it makes perfect sense because she was part of the original Unity Squad. Now, what she's doing is really more like recon work than anything else, which is flying up to Orcus bases and seeing how close they can get before their early surveillance system detects them, which she realizes it's about 200 yards, right? So she ends up traveling back to Captain America to report the information, and then you pick up with Captain Krakoa alongside the Blob and Wild Child. Now, Blob and Wild Child don't matter, and they never did, but Captain Krakoa does. So Captain Krakoa, when he initially appeared in Marvel Comics, which he's a very new creation, it was just Cyclops, basically kind of like the mutant population's own Captain America type character, if you want to call him that. But with Cyclops being held captive by really Dr. Stasis, Sinister, whatever, and his eyes being sewn shut, we know it's not him. So someone else is masquerading as Captain Krakoa, and we don't know who it is. But what he's doing is he's actually infiltrating to the island of Krakoa in order to find mutants, at least a couple of mutants in particular, who are being held captive there that will join his cause. Now, one of the things that we're told about Captain Krakoa is that this is a man of lies, that with the exception of very few people, most surviving mutants out there still believe he's Cyclops because they don't know that Cyclops was captured. There are some who know it's not him, but really he just kind of allows the ruse to continue on, because in reality, it's better that people believe he's someone he's not and cheer on the idea of Captain Krakoa than to tell people the truth and then they become disillusioned in him. But it's also him lying about being detected by like the forces of the Sentinels and so on and so forth. Now, what's also kind of wild about this is when he actually gets to the island of Krakoa, the island's crying because this witness, and it really is kind of watching the complete and total, what appears to be the extinction of the mutant population. But once Captain Krakoa gets to the center of the island, down into the pit, he ends up coming across Fenris, also known as the Von Strucker twins, right? Andrea and Andreas. Now, these two are not like overly powerful, but they are cool, right? They're kind of like Marvel's version of the Wonder Twins from DC Comics. They can fire like these ridiculously powerful and super hot plasma bursts, but they have to be holding hands while they do it. But Captain Krakoa shows up here, and with them just kind of buying into the idea that he's Cyclops, he doesn't really dismiss it. He doesn't really say like, I'm not Cyclops. He just says, that name is dead. I'm Captain Krakoa now and forever. So he's just kind of like, I mean, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but I'm Captain Krakoa. That's all you need to worry about. Ultimately, Andreas is like, is somebody gonna like help me get up? And the response of Captain Krakoa is kind of like, I mean, we will, but like, I'm gonna take your sister in the back. We're gonna get to know each other a little bit, right? Like, they're gonna bang. Not really. He doesn't say that, but it'd be amazing if he did. But what you end up doing here is you switch over to what we had covered in X-Men 25 when you had Captain America's Unity Squad meeting with the X-Men, right? This kind of, it's one of those moments that just ties into it. If you didn't see our story, I'll provide you a link to the Fall of X playlist at the end of this video so you can get caught up. But again, it's just kind of meeting and talking, sharing information. That's all that's really happening here. And it is kind of cool to see that Captain America is one of the guys guys working alongside the mutant population in this way. And even with the Sentinels, Captain America tells them like Tony Stark is working on something that can overcome the Sentinel technology, but it's his own tech that's been taken away from him and being used to create anti-mutant Sentinels. So how does Tony Stark defeat his own technology? That's what he's trying to figure out. Now, of course, Miss Marvel's here, and just like she's been doing for the entirety of the Fall of X event, she stands around and does nothing. So ultimately, Quicksilver ends up grabbing everybody and whisking them out of there as fast as he can so that nobody can catch up to them. And then you finally get this conflict where Captain America, who's been tracking down Captain Krakoa this entire time, comes head to head with him. Now, rumors abound about who this guy is. And the biggest theory that I've seen that's circulating around here is that it's Magneto, right? Maybe his memories are wiped or whatever it is, but like Magneto's back. And it's not the first time Marvel's done that, right? Like anybody who's been reading the X-Men long enough, especially back in the 90s, you remember Joseph. It was a terrible concept in Marvel Comics, but they've done it before. So it's not like it's a brand new thing. But the cool thing here is that you do get a fight between like Monet and Wildchild, and Psylocke and all these other forces and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really matter. The cool thing here is the fight between Captain America and Captain Krakoa, because we didn't fully know what this guy was capable of. We don't know what all he can do, right? When it was Cyclops, it was him just running around and doing stuff. We don't know what this guy's abilities are. This guy overpowers Captain America, and we get this like amazing kind of monologue, right? Like the Krakoan battle suit was designed to amplify the strength of ordinary non-combatants, giving them an edge during an extinction level event. Whoever this new Captain Krakoa was, he was much stronger than any ordinary human. And in fact, he taunts Steve Rogers, right? He says, "Tisk, your attacks are so obvious and predictable. Now allow me to break you of that habit." And he snaps Captain America's arm on the spot. This guy overpowers Steve Rogers, and that's no small thing. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. If you guys need to get caught up on Fall of X, make sure you click this link to the playlist, and I will catch you all later. Peace.